Hi, welcome to Bobbye and Tonilee Unplugged. My name is Bobbye Brooks.
And I'm Tonilee Adamson.
This is our brand new radio program, although it's formerly known as Daily Disciples
Radio.
That's right. Same people, same host, just a little different format, and a format we're really excited about. As you're watching the program, you're listening to the program now on your normal radio station, but we really want you to take advantage of what we're doing now. It's virtual. We're in a virtual studio we're still working on. And what we will have starting next week is an online set where you'll be watching us kind of in a different environment. And we're going to have virtual Fridays where we'll be back in this studio. How do you get there? How do you get to watch this? So many of you are busy. You don't catch the radio show in your car. But you can go to YouTube, which is the second largest search engine, by the way. And you can get there by either going to dailydisciples.org and clicking Bobbye and Tonilee Unplugged, or you can go to bobbyeandtonilee.com. Our names are spelled a little different. Mine is
BOBBYEANDTONILEE.
Right, that's right, bobbyeandtonilee.com. When you get to Bobbye and Tonilee's channel, we want you to subscribe so that you can follow and watch the daily television program. Bobbye and Tonilee Unplugged is designed really to help you. And the reason we're doing this with a Christian platform is to discuss topics and issues that are real life. We used to have a segment called Real Issues, Real Answers, and that's really what this is.
And we talked about things like death, divorce, depression, debt. And then the A's, addiction, anger, abuse.
And anxiety.
Right, anxiety.
That's right.
So we want to get back to that, not because the Word of God isn't enough. The Word of God is totally enough. But walking our lives out every single day, you might not open up a passage and really understand how it applies to your life. So as Christians dealing with real life issues, we want to talk about real life.
That's right. Today we're going to spend a few minutes talking about something that a lot of people are experiencing, and yet it is almost taboo or extremely uncomfortable to ever really discuss it publicly. And it's even harder as a Christian. And it's something called verbal abuse.
I really believe it's so hard to discuss because it doesn't seem tangible. We all have troubles with our tongue at times. We all have troubles in being abrupt or rash at times. So what is verbal abuse, and how do you know if you're really abused? And then how can you describe it when everyone knows that we have trouble with our tongues?
Well, I think it's not just that. And there's a time whenever you need to get help or you need to get out of an environment. This is about it affects more of domestic situations, so we're really talking about a domestic environment, or it could be a work environment where you're being harassed. Harassment, bullying, there's verbal abuse, there's this cyber abuse, we'll talk about it another time, that's online, but verbal abuse is when you are with somebody who is constantly verbally abusing you. And T.L., can you give your definition of what you think verbal abuse is, and I'll give mine.
And obviously, we are talking to the victim of the abuse, not to the person who is being verbally abusive. Because I do think that the person who's being verbally abusive
may not be aware of it. Yeah, absolutely.
Like they
don't understand what they're doing.
Their parents talk to them like that, so they're going to talk like that to their. But I see it as there's a level of expectation in the abuser that's so high and unrealistic that they are constantly placing on to that significant other in their lives their expectation of what they want that person to be to reflect them, like to meet their needs. Was that confusing?
No, but I would give a different definition. I think verbal abuse scans a lot of different areas, and the reason is because I was raised in a home that where I had a very verbally abusive father. So growing up in it, I can clearly tell you what my experience was in verbal abuse. Now, he was also physically abusive, But verbal abuse was almost worse because words hurt. And they hurt children and they hurt adolescents more than they even hurt adults. Adults start to develop our own sense of protection and our own defense mechanisms. But as a child, it's incredibly painful. Verbal abuse is when someone says to you, "You're no good. Why are you even bothering? You can't do it. You're never going to make it." All these kind of negative sayings. And what they're doing is they're exerting a level of control over you through their words. They slowly and subtly begin to put you into a corner where you have lost your self-esteem, your worthiness.
Voice. Don't you think
you have no voice because you're afraid. Fear comes into it. And then the person who is being verbally abused, the victim, doesn't understand or even see or even sometimes be able to articulate, this is what's happening. They don't get it. And they start to feel guilty. As a victim, you may feel like you're the one that's wrong. I can't meet the demands of this person.
Yes.
I'm not a good wife. I'm not a good daughter. I'm not a good mother. I'm not a good
But that
worker.
doesn't have to come verbally. That can
No,
become an
I'm using that as an
attitude.
example.
Yeah, because I was just thinking of a friend of mine. She was talking about how this person in her life kept telling her how she wanted something done. All right, it was two women. I want this done this way. I want this done this way. And wanted her friend to do it the exact way she wanted it done. And my friend said, I just couldn't do it that way. I didn't see it like that. I didn't know how to do it that way. So the gal who was being verbally abusive went like this, crossed her arms, and started acting like she was praying so that God would get that person who didn't understand. I mean, that is abusive too.
Well, here's what abuse is, though. Abuse is whenever it continues. It's not just one situation. Now, you can have a situation that you can say, you know what, that was wrong what you just said to me. You can have a situation or an occurrence where someone says, you shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have said that. And that could be an abusive kind of moment, but verbal abuse in the domestic situation
of it.
continues. And it puts a person, and it happens on both sides. Men do it to women, and women do it to men. Friends do it to each other. It's across the board, and usually there's a personality. It's an alpha personality, meaning the alpha dog, the stronger of the two, tends to dominate the other person or persons. There are bosses who are verbally abusive to their employees, and guarantee you they have a high turnover rate because there are people who finally say, I am not going to put up with this. So it's a very serious issue. And we encourage you that if you have any suspicion that you're in that kind of relationship or in that kind of environment, you need to really step back and start praying about the Lord, for the Lord to show you. He will reveal to you the truth. And then seek help.
Well, and I know that we're coming to an end, but one of the huge problems in the Christian church is that word submissive. Because when it's a woman who's being verbally abused, she thinks that if she's just submissive enough and doesn't say a word, that it'll go away. And she's quoting that verse in Peter.
Or that's the
Without
way it's supposed to be.
saying a word,
that it's just the
you
way it's
can
supposed to be.
win him over. And what ends up happening is you just get more and more abused.
And
it's not
internally
good.
upset.
Yeah, God doesn't want that for you.
That's right. Well, we've got to take a break here on Bobbye and Tonilee Unplugged. When we come back, we'll be doing a segment. Tonilee's got more inspirational message that she wants to share, but we want to really encourage you to always check us out at dailydisciples.org. Bobbye and Tonilee Unplugged is seen, not just heard. So as you're listening to us on the radio, you can also now find us on YouTube at our YouTube channel, Bobbye and Tonilee's channel, and you can get there through dailydisciples.org or BobbyeandTonilee.com. So we got to take a short break, but don't go anywhere because we will be right back.
Hi, my name is Emily Adamson of Media for Women Enterprises. Media for Women is a full-service media marketing agency. We do everything from web design, videography, social media, and more. The technology we have today is not going away, and you need to get your business online. Set up your free consultation today at mediaforwomen.com or call the number on your screen, 1-800-992-0369.
Hey, welcome back to Bobbye and Tonilee Unplugged. My name is Bobbye Brooks.
And I'm Tonilee Adamson.
And today, if you're brand new to the show, we want to welcome you. This is our new format. You're listening to our normal radio show, and you can always go to dailydisciples.org, as always. But we want you to click the Bobbye and Tonilee Unplugged banner, and you can watch the show anytime you want to. So instead of just getting the downloaded podcast, you can go watch us. And right now, we are in our virtual studio, which starting next week, we're going to have a set. You'll see us actually in some different locations. And yet every Friday, we're going to have Virtual Friday. So, and you're going to get to see lots of other people come in and be interviewed on the program. And if you have a community in the San Diego area, if you have a community announcement or a ministry or organization would like to be interviewed, let us know. That's right. And let's also just remind everyone again, even though you're hearing the commercials throughout the show about the Power of Hope Women's Conference on Saturday, January 30th, we want to let you know, if you ever hear us on the program say, if you call now, you can get 2 tickets for only $2 tickets
for $30.
$30.
15 each.
That's right, $15 each. You can do that if you hear us say it. So you call 800-992-0369. The first 2 callers right now, first 2 callers will get the opportunity to pay only $15 each.
You got it.
Okay?
Great.
First 2 callers, 800-992-0369. So back to the topic today. We are discussing this issue of verbal abuse. Now, it's one of these things that we don't want to talk about. Nobody really wants to talk about it. In Christian circles, it is...
it's like a slippery pig, too.
It's hard
to grab.
It's hard to grab. It's hard. How does a person know when they're being verbally abused? That's such a hard word. Physical abuse. There's even people that will cover up the signs of physical abuse.
Right.
So verbal abuse for a Christian, when are we ever going to say it? And somebody mentioned to us that I think, and I agree with this person, some of the greatest, hardest, most painful abuse verbally comes from our, quote, loved ones. People
Those who are closest to us.
People closest to us.
And that's why I was opening up the Bible, because in Job, his closest friends came to him to beat him up verbally. I mean, Job says in chapter 19, if it's true that I've gone astray, because they keep saying you have to be in sin for God to have done this to you. This is terrible, Job. You are at fault for this. So at his lowest point in his life, they are criticizing him. He says, if it's true that I have gone astray, my error remains my concern alone. And what I see from that, Bobbye, is when people are quick to say, you're no good, you're wrong, you're in sin, you're like,
and they say it all the time,
and it's
not
negative,
just
and
once.
it's like, it gets to the point where you feel brainwashed by it. This is what it comes down to. You stand before God alone for what you are doing on this earth, if you are the person doing the complaining or the person receiving the complaint. You can believe the negativity and the lies, and you can end up becoming exactly what that person is saying over you. You can just say, I quit, I'm done. He must be right.
I'm going to say a word that I think is part of this, and it's the word manipulation. When someone knows you very well, and this is where the loved one or the best friend or the family member or someone comes into the picture, and you have a relationship with that person, you may not realize the manipulation that's taking place. It's not love. And what they do is verbal abuse is whenever someone beat you up verbally, and that could be cursing, that could be raging at you, that could be attacking you in a verbal manner that's just absolutely stripping you down to the bone of you as a person. And then whenever they're done and they feel better, they come back later and all of a sudden they give you a gift and they tell you how much they love you and they're sorry or whatever, and back you go.
Right.
Everything's
the
all
cycle comes
fine.
back.
And this is the issue of verbal abuse. It's happening a lot. And actually, a lot of the things that I've been reading, not just online or in the news or just in personal blogs even, if you really look up people's true stories of what they're going through, the women who are willing to step out and talk about it. And there are men in the situation as well, but I think women are far more the victim. Those who are willing to write about it, blog about it, really be honest and transparent about it, because it's humiliating, it's embarrassing, I can't believe I'm in this situation that I let this person do this to me.
Right.
Or what did I do wrong that has caused this person? I must have brought this on myself.
I know. Well, I don't even think it's that. I think most of us, we just want to help other people. And so we find ourselves in that position of being the enabler and allowing it to continue. And then the next thing you know, we can't give something we don't have because we're so beat up that we can't take any more responsibility for it. We become just useless, hopeless, depressed, but we don't even know how we got there because our intent was just to help.
Have you ever been verbally abused?
You know, I was
Or
thinking
in a
about
situation?
it. Not that I could think of. I
Yeah.
don't think I've been verbally abused.
It's hard to understand it unless you've been in it. And it's so subtle that I've watched it, I've known people in it, I've had a lot of family members in it, I have counseled so many people in it. I can see it so clearly when other people are in it and they don't know what to do, because the person who is doing it will never acknowledge they've done it, will never admit they've done it. And so instead of being able to address it like adult to adult, for the person who is being abused to say, this is what you're saying that hurts me, this is how this makes me feel, to address it that way, the other person acts like, this is your problem,
But that doesn't have
it's not my problem.
Right, that doesn't have to be words only though. We're talking about verbal abuse. That's people spewing those words at you instead of you just hearing them in your head.
Yeah, but I mean, this is abuse that goes on and on and on.
But that's a lot of
and
abuse.
on.
That's manipulation, that's control. I've had a lot of that in my life, yes. But actually someone pointing a finger saying all those things your dad said to you, that is verbal abuse. Mm-hmm. You're no good, you'll never be any good, you'll amount to nothing. Those are the words the enemy says to us personally, even if we don't have those physical people in our lives.
No, the enemy uses it through people.
He does.
Because I don't believe that we just wake up one day feeling worthless. We have heard it from somebody at some time. That's what's happened. And it either came through, and it could be one-time occurrence, but most of the time, the enemy gets that stronghold in our mind because somebody has come in and has started saying that about us or to us. And that is abuse. And you need to recognize it. And I highly recommend you going and getting help about it. It's wrong.
Okay,
So,
I disagree. So when we come back, I'm going to say something.
Okay, so we're going to take a break here on Bobbye and Tonilee Unplugged. I highly recommend you not going anywhere. Tonilee she's going to disagree with me, okay? So she's getting ready to disagree with what I just said.
Absolutely.
That's right. You're listening to Bobbye and Tonilee Unplugged, and we will be right back right after a short break. Hi, my name is Bobbye Brooks.
And I'm Tonilee Adamson.
We're the co-founders of Daily Disciples Ministries, and we are hosting our 11th annual Women's Conference on
Saturday, January 30th, and it is the Power of Hope. And it's going to be held again at Point Loma Nazarene University, and we want to see you ladies there.
That's right. Tickets right now, they're on sale, and they are going fast. They're only $25, and that includes lunch and parking. You can get them at dailydisciples.org, or you can call
800-992-0369.
Ladies, listen, we know that 2016 is going to be a very significant year. We need hope that only comes from the Lord. So
Yes.
get your tickets today. Call 800-992-0369 or go to
dailydisciples.org.
and we will see you there. Welcome back to Bobbye and Tonilee Unplugged. If you're brand new to the show, you are listening to us, and we are the kind of the reconditioned old Daily Disciples radio. You have new and improved, right? And you not only get to hear us if you're listening to the radio, but you can watch us by going to our YouTube channel. There's a Bobbye and Tonilee channel, which is Bobbye and Tonilee Unplugged. You can get there from dailydisciples.org or bobbyeandtonilee.com.
And I have to say, we're able to do this because of M4W Productions.
That's right. Produced by M4W
Media for
Productions.
Women, yes.
And the man behind the camera and our awesome editor, Mr. Eddie Ron. And you'll learn more about Media for Women, because with this amazing virtual studio, if you're listening on the radio, okay, go home, open your computer, and go to YouTube and just Google Bobbye and Tonilee channel. You're going to see the coolest virtual studio ever. And then starting next week, you're going to see the coolest set. We have a studio, we have a 360-degree set, and these are all available through our production company. And
To you.
Which Eddie is heading up.
Yes.
And it is available to you and your business. If you would like to come in and shoot and film your own Bible study or book a series or business commercial, we have full-blown television capability and so much more. Anyway, back to today's topic. We are discussing this
Verbal abuse.
verbal abuse, and you just heard my definition, and Tonilee disagrees.
I disagree.
Okay.
I disagree. Okay,
Now
this
it's
is
your
why I
turn.
disagree. So if you're just tuning on, I'm going to give you a real brief synopsis. Bobbye was verbally abused by her father. He said things like, "Why are you watching that television show? It's just going to make you more stupid." I mean, he would say things like negative, angry. I mean, she was in a pit, really. I mean, he would say things like, "You'll never amount to
Right,
anything."
right. And there's a lot
"Why
of
are you
people
so
that-
stupid?"
yeah.
Okay. Now, I was not ever verbally abused. There were, of course, words that are flung back and forth, but being verbally abused, I believe, is continual and it's cyclic. So you're verbally abused and they might feel a little guilty about it, so then they come back and they're extra nice, but then within the next month or whatever, they're back at it. You're back to the floor, face on the ground. You don't know what you've done. Out of the blue, it's a mess. Okay, that's like sexual abuse. You could have a relationship with this person, and then all of a sudden, the next thing you know, sexual abuse again. I mean, it is cyclic. It doesn't have to be every day. It's almost a little, it's confusing
Very
almost, because
sick.
you don't know if you're okay today or if you're bad today. And there's no real reason behind it, because the person who is verbally abusive is the one in control of it. So the victim kind of starts walking on eggshells, wondering, am I going to do anything wrong today to hear those nasty words? That to me is verbal abuse. Now, there's a lot of kind of abuse. There's being manipulated. There is control. There's obviously sexual abuse. There is emotional abuse. There are a lot of different types of abuse. But the reason why I don't believe that verbal abuse has to be just from those around you, that you've heard it somewhere and that's why you're thinking those negative thoughts, that's not true. Because when I think of all the women that we have ministered to over the years, and even, of course, our own experiences always get taken into this, there is one person in our life who did not have a relationship with her mother at all. Her mother was suicidal and literally did commit suicide by the time our friend was a very young child, all right? She never heard anything negative from her mother because her mother was constantly in her own world of being depressed and suicidal. But this girl then, as she became an adult, wrote a book about the verbal abuse she heard in her head, which was clearly, to me, demonic. It did not come because anybody else said verbally abusive things to her. It was because she did not have that relationship with her mother. Her mother did take her own life, that then our friend said, I kept saying, I wasn't worthy enough to be alive, but those are verbal abusive thoughts.
I think that's different. I would
define
define that differently.
Well, how would you define that? Because she said all the things you said.
Yeah,
I'm not worthy.
But she didn't hear that from somebody.
But that's what you said. You said
that is the no.
If you have those thoughts, it's because you've heard it from someone. She never did. She didn't ever hear that from anyone, and she had those thoughts about herself.
Well, I would probably want to look back and actually, I doubt that person whose mother was that sick and depressive did not say something to her daughter at some point or another.
She was raised, I read her book besides talking to her.
I understand.
She was raised in a completely different environment. She wasn't around her mother.
There had to be things, though, implanted in this child's head at a young age that were verbalized. I mean, I just don't see any...
Well, she felt responsible for her mother's death.
Of course. I mean, because you're going to have people, even if it's not her mother, there are going to be other people in her life saying things, and that verbalization is sinking into her. Don't tell me that a suicidal mother who kills herself has not said something at some point.
But this child, I think, was 3 when she killed herself. She wasn't even with her mother. Her mother was sick.
Then at some point after the death, the person is still dealing with and hearing things.
I've said this frequently. I don't need other people to say negative things to me to feel bad about myself.
That's a different topic. That is a different topic.
I could take myself out with my own thoughts.
But wait a minute. I'm not saying all verbal abuse is from negative thoughts. Negative thoughts come from circumstances.
Or from other people.
I'm not saying that. But I am saying that there is an issue. What I'm saying is verbal abusive issues, and whether they're domestic or people close to us, those are going to result in negative, low self-esteem, self-abusive behavior. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that we can't get there on our own and be depressed from other reasons. However,
that's right.
What I'm saying is
so true.
There is this unspoken issue that is taking place that nobody wants to talk about.
But is
nobody wants to talk about this
issue that no one wants to talk about verbal abuse? Because I think verbal abuse is spoken, and I think verbal abuse, you can pinpoint it to someone who's saying it.
I think that if you're listening to this or watching this show right now and you're in a relationship of any kind where you are being berated, harassed, bullied, and it is happening on a regular basis, and you know it, and there is manipulation.
That is so good.
That's the point.
That, you know what? Great job.
Then you need to get help.
And we have a lot of people in our lives that can help you
and
with
you
this.
can call us at Dale Disciples Ministries.
We will be completely anonymous.
That's right. We will talk to you. We will make sure you get help. We will help you find the right counselor. This doesn't mean you have to immediately stop a relationship, change your life.
No.
This just means that
you want to take the right steps.
Right, and you need to understand you're not a bad person. Mm-hmm. That's what it comes down to. Mm-hmm. So I think this is a topic that
you.
Yeah, God loves you.
He doesn't want you treated like that, and He doesn't want you then to take those thoughts, and you're not able to get out of bed in the morning because someone did say those things to you, and you have suddenly become helpless and hopeless, and you're trapped.
And so we want you to come. This is a great opportunity, segue to the Power of Hope. Hope will change your life. The Power of Hope Women's Conference. And I said, if you're listening to us, you're going to be hearing the commercial throughout our shows all the time. It's a $25 ticket. But if you hear us say live and in living color, whether you're listening online or watching the show or listening in your car. If we say you can call right now and get 2 tickets for only $30, that's 2 tickets, which means that's $15 a piece. Call 800-992-0369, 800-992-0369, and you can get as many as you want, but you have to call the number to get the special deal. Now, join us at dailydisciples.org, bobbyeandtonilee.com, and we will be back tomorrow with another message that is unplugged and maybe gets people a little unglued at times, but all in the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior.
Who keeps everything together.
That's right. So until tomorrow, as always, Bobbye and Tonilee signing off, and we hope to see you soon.